Here we go. Episode 14 already on the 14th of August of this August reset. Today is Sunday, and because the last time I shared a chapter from my unpublished book, Rotten Lemons, I got such a great reception and such good feedback from you guys, I decided to once again today share a chapter of my book and just kind of, like read it off of my phone and see what you guys think of it. Today, I'm gonna be talking about. I'm basically making a plea. I'm making a stand for physical fitness and investing in your body. This is something that is very dear to me because, as you all know, after my cancer, um, you know, I lost everything. Like, I lost my relationship, I lost my self esteem, but I also lost my career and my daily activities, the things that kept me busy. So I basically, I was faced with trying to figure out in which direction to go, but I had no answers, only questions. So I just kind of took this logical approach and said, let's just start by doing the things that I know for certain I'll never end up regretting. Like, I'll never say one day, I wish I hadn't put time into that. And I try to figure out like what one of those things was, and pretty quickly I figured out one of those things was fitness. Investing in your body. You're never gonna say, like, there's never gonna be a day, at least I believe, that you're gonna say, man, I wish I hadn't worked out so much when I was younger. I wish I hadn't made my body so strong and resilient so that it could still carry me in my later stages of life. So that's kind of what this is about. And I'm just going to go ahead and read it and not just spoil everything by freestyling this. So it's actually called Don't Buy a Ferrari, Be the Ferrari. Boom. That's a good title. So, all right, here we go. This goddamn wasp, man. Get the hell out of here. This one is a very sensitive topic to me. This chapter entails the main key to my transformation from being a crippled cancer patient that looked like Gollum in a wheelchair to a goddamn motherfucker. Fuck you. Yeah, that's right. And now you're dead. Alright, let me start over. Sorry, guys. Had to just kill this wasp, reestablish the pecking order in the food chain. Alright. So this one is a very sensitive topic to me. This chapter entails the main key to my transformation from being a crippled cancer patient that looked like Gollum in a wheelchair to a healthy and strong athlete. Many people assume that my focus on physical strength and fitness resulted from me undergoing a jaw amputation, an attempt to compensate for my messed up face. This was not the case, however. I got into fitness at the age of 16 already, which was 8 years before my first cancer diagnosis. My obsession with maximizing my physical fitness and outlook was nothing more than a logical conclusion after going over my list of insurmountable problems and asking myself this crucial question: what can I control? I couldn't control the fact that my face would be damaged goods for the rest of my life. Of course, plastic surgeries could make it better eventually, but the fact of the matter was that I would never be able to look the way I used to. I could win the lottery and fly in Michael Jackson's old plastic surgeons. It wouldn't change the reality that I would never look normal again. Instead of dwelling on this observation, I decided to go all in on one of the most essential life principles that I adopted. Don't worry about what you cannot control. So I started focusing all my resources on what I could control. Every single piece of my body that had remained intact and still looked the way it was intended by nature. That was exactly what I could still control. I understand most people never think about the concept of their body as a collection of different muscle groups and body parts. Your body is just your body, the essence of being a physical human being, even more so than our soul in that regard. Some people walk this world empty on the inside, soulless, yet we still consider them human beings. There might also be souls wandering this world, but they're not human beings without a body. We call that spirits. Having a body is the one and only non negotiable factor in being a human being. The one and only thing that you can't lose. You might oversleep and wake up late, scramble to gather your things as you race to get to work. Upon arriving, you'll realize you've forgotten your wallet or your phone, but you'll never have forgotten your ears or your hands. They're just there, always, until they're removed. Because I had an amputation in my facial area, it's often overlooked that my jaw muscle wasn't the only muscle I lost in my fight against cancer. My entire left fibula, which is located on my lower left leg, was harvested so that it could be used to reconstruct a replacement jaw. After suffering a brutal compartment syndrome on my lower left leg, I also had significant parts of my left and right quadricep removed. On top of that, I also lost my left oblique muscle a couple of years later. This was through yet another jaw reconstruction, the one I'm still rocking to this day. And nothing I like to refer to this as the ball sack on my chin. My point is, because of cancer, I lost quite a lot of body parts and muscles. The saying, you don't know what you've got until it's gone, is very applicable to this situation. My body is not supposed to function without these parts, and I feel it every single day. The best way to describe it is by trying to imagine that you're driving a car on the highway that has no windshields and no doors. All the basic necessities, such as the wheels and the engine, are still there. It still drives, but it's far from comfortable, and it doesn't feel right. Instead of focusing on all of the things that I had lost in the fire that is cancer, I decided to keep a positive outlook and focus on the body parts I still had left. More than mere focus, I began to cherish them, love them, nurture them, and above all, grow them. I understand that all of this may sound very superficial as it merely focuses on the physical outlook of my body. In reality, it has always gone way beyond that for me. More than just growing big muscles, it was about having a clear, obtainable, and a controllable goal. After my first jaw amputation, I had been rendered to be physically and mentally useless. I required daily treatment, and I had to go to the hospital for checkups every other day. I had a bunch of free time on my hands every single day. Still, that time was continuously chopped up by doctor's appointments, so I couldn't establish any continuity in actually doing something productive over a more extended period of time. This meant that I couldn't get a job in any capacity, even if I would have had the time. I wasn't mentally able. I couldn't travel and go places that were far away from home, and I would spend most of my time laying and sitting around the house waiting for my next trip to the hospital or doctor. Now let me tell you, few things are mentally more taxing than waking up each morning, asking yourself how you're going to kill the next 15 hours of daytime before being able to go to bed again. I was in desperate need of a goal. Something that I would have complete control over without having to rely on anyone else to be able to reach that goal. The utterly selfish and egocentric aspect of the sport of bodybuilding appeared to me as the ultimate satisfier to my greatest needs. It gave me everything I needed, and so much more. With no hesitation, I went all in and submerged myself into the lifestyle of a bodybuilder. I frantically watched YouTube videos on a day in the life of bodybuilder XYZ, and initially I gravitated to a bodybuilder named Jay Cutler a lot. I would mimic his style of training in hopes of one day achieving the same results he had. I was drawn to Jay's persona because I felt like he always had a certain aura of sadness surrounding him, neuroticness. He never got too high or too low. Despite his success and unique lifestyle, he never exhibited any real signs of joy or enthusiasm about anything. He just did what he had to do. There were never any outspoken feelings involved. A true stoic. It is what it is. Being an emphatic person, I was intrigued and drawn by that. I was tired of being so damn emotional. I wanted what he had. I never met or spoke to the guy, hence all of these characteristics that I'm attributing to him may be absolute nonsense. It's merely my perception of his representation in his YouTube videos. And for me, perception has always been a reality, so that was enough for me to build on. So, Monday through Sunday, I drove to my local gym to go and work out, or at least be present, for never any less than 2 hours. Some days I was in there for up to 3 hours. From the moment I left my house to drive there, everything was under my control. I listened to a particular playlist of songs depending on my mood to get me amped up. The music ranged from Leonard Cohen, Mr. Hudson, Whitney Houston, and Johnny Cash to Rick Ross, Derek Pope, Lil Wayne, and Nipsey Hussle. Very often, emotional and sad music worked best to get me fired up for a gym session. Sad songs allow me to momentarily dwell in self-pity, facilitating a descent into the depths of my trauma. Once I got into this mental space, it wasn't long before an overwhelming desire for revenge on life took over. I felt so angry, so driven, so focused. I reminded myself once more that this was not how it was supposed to be. Something had to be done. I had to get back up and fight for what had been taken from me. And so began my steep climb, day by day, rep by rep, set by set. I and only I had absolute control over the outcome of what my body would look like. If I just remained consistent and repeated the process of lifting heavy weights and putting them back down over and over again, I would progress. Never at any point of my young life had I been in more desperate need of a clear and linear plan that could guide me from the dark and cold, impenetrable woods of mutilation to the gold-plated mountaintops of self-love and pride. When my cyst transformed into a tumor the size of a tennis ball, my face was not the only thing destroyed. Up until the point of my amputation, I had been a very driven sales manager who, at a young age, had already worked in three different countries, for a couple of big-name companies. I was on the fast track to financial success before my career came crashing down like a bungee jumper without a rope. Not only did I lose my physical identity, but I also lost my professional identity. Being raised in a Belgian household with two engineer siblings, there had always been great emphasis on building a great career. I had spent most of my professional career being active in the sales industry, where being taken at face value had always been an essential piece of the puzzle. Needless to say, I felt like my face value had vanished into thin air. So, where did I go from here? How would I ever be able to make real money again? How do you build a new career when you can't even stop yourself from drooling all over your sweater because the thing that is now supposed to be your mouth won't close? How could I ever measure myself with my peers who are building stellar careers? It took me some time to come to grips with the fact that I would not create a lucrative career in the foreseeable future. At this point, I still had multiple years of surgeries and treatments ahead of me. So how could I ever be able to be in a room amongst highly successful people without feeling inferior to them? How could I figure out a way to still demand my respect regardless of the ridiculously low amount of money in my bank account? And that's when it came to me. If I couldn't buy a Ferrari, I had no choice but to become the Ferrari. If I successfully transformed my average-looking physique into the literal embodiment of a human race car, it wouldn't matter how much money I made. If you were to put Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos into a room with a wild lion, there would be not the slightest doubt about who would command the most respect in that room. And whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, we're all still living in the animal kingdom. No matter how high up you go on the social ladder, human beings are, for the most part, still driven by their primal instincts to this very day. Your body is the most fantastic business card you can ever imagine. When you look like the human equivalent of a sports car, you don't even have to open your mouth for people to know what you're about. Three things are immediately understood from the second a stranger lays eyes upon you. 1. You have self-discipline. 2. You're not afraid of hard work. And 3. You're incredibly consistent. Just think about the massive amount of time and energy you're able to save by communicating these personality traits to an entire room. It's like sending a reply to all email in real life. As shallow as this outlook may seem, I can't tell you how many times I have found myself attracting people who are considered infinitely hold on. As shallow as this outlook may seem, I can't tell you how many times I found myself attracting people who are considered infinitely more successful by society's terms than me. I'm sure this is also because they can tell that I've been through some pretty rough things to look the way that I do. In that regard, my physique is also an obvious answer to the question, how did you respond when tragedy struck? The answer is that I fought. I did not lay down and die. I continued to try and get back up until I could stand on my own 2 feet again, ready for another round of life. There is another reason why I put so much emphasis on investing in your body, including your brain. It is the one and only investment in this world that will never stop paying you dividends. No matter how great of a financial debt you might one day find yourself in, your body is the one thing that they cannot take from you. Even if you should end up in jail, stripped of all your belongings, you will still have your body. You can buy and collect anything you like, cars, clothes, house, jewelry, stocks. At the end of the day, in an absolute worst case scenario, all of these things can get repossessed and taken from you. You never you never truly own anything except for your body. And that's it, guys. That's the chapter. That's the video. I hope I didn't do a too crappy job of reading that. And yeah, I really don't have anything else to say. Like, it's funny because when I read that chapter the other day, the one about getting laid for the first time in 4 years, that kind of made me sad. And this one kind of like it got me hyped. Like, it reminded me of my philosophy like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I do, like, I would say right now, I feel like in this chapter, there's quite a lot of emphasis on money and not having it. I do feel like in that regard, I definitely care a little bit less. Even though I understand, like, we need money to level up in life and to advance and things like that. But all in all, very happy with this chapter, and definitely, it's funny because it's so valuable to write things down, guys, and to document, like even on video, because we forget so quickly, and there's definitely some things in here that I forgot, and I'm happy I wrote them down. My past self wrote them down to convey them to my future self, and now I'm conveying it to you. Anywho, that is the video, my dear friends. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a comment if you're still here, if you're still watching, because we're going to keep this August reset going, baby. What is it? 14 days in a row now? Honestly, I didn't even think I had 14 straight days in me. That's 2 weeks. 2 straight weeks of content. I'm very happy with it, and I'm very happy that you guys are here still following the content and riding with me on this journey, on this quest for higher self-awareness and general awareness and happiness and all that jive. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with a new video. Have a beautiful day. Peace out.